The air smelled of coal smoke, expensive tobacco and horse manure. The streets were paved with the cobblestones of an empire that spanned a quarter of the globe. It is the summer of 1913. If you were standing here on the corner of Piccadilly Circus, you would feel an overwhelming sense of permanence. You would look at the stone facades of the buildings, the solid iron of the lampposts, and the unhurried gait of the pedestrians, and you would think, this will last. But we know something they do not. We know that in less than 12 months, these young men in tweed suits will be wearing khaki. We know that the horses pulling these omnibuses will be dying in the mud of Flanders. And we know that this golden sunlight is actually a sunset. For centuries, London grew wealthier, larger, and more invincible. But in 1914, everything changed. Today, you won't just hear about history, you will see it. We are going to walk the streets of the capital of the world at its absolute apex. We will witness the extreme wealth, the hidden poverty, and the supreme confidence of a civilization standing on a cliff edge, completely unaware of the fall to come. To understand the enormity of 1913, we must look at the 5 pillars of Edwardian London. The first pillar is scale. In 1913, London was not just a city, it was the command center of the largest empire history had ever known. Decisions made in Whitehall rippled out to affect 400 million people, 1 out of every 4 humans on Earth. The King Emperor, George V, sat on a throne that seemed unshakable. The second pillar is gold. This is the city of London. It was the Wall Street of its day, but even more powerful. The British pound sterling was the world's reserve currency. If a railway was built in Argentina, it was funded here. If a canal was dug in Panama, the insurance was written here. The wealth flowing through these narrow streets was staggering, creating a society of immense, concentrated riches. But this wealth came at a cost. This brings us to the third pillar, trade. The River Thames was the artery of the world. London was a port city, a machine that inhaled raw materials from the colonies and exhaled manufactured goods. It was a city of endless motion, a booming metropolis, plagued by the chaos of its success. Yet despite this power, there was an unease. The fourth and fifth pillars were hubris and blindness. The Titanic had sunk only a year prior, in 1912. It was a shock, yes, but it hadn't shattered the illusion of progress. People believed that technology, reason, and diplomacy had made major wars obsolete. They believed they were too civilized for catastrophe. They were wrong. We move now to the beating heart of fashionable London, Regent Street. Imagine standing before the curved facade of the Quadrant. It is a bright Tuesday morning. The smog has lifted, leaving a pale blue sky. Here, the noise of the docks fades away, replaced by the polite chatter of the upper classes and the purr of luxury automobiles, Rolls-Royces and Daimlers jostling for space with hansom cabs. This area was the playground of the elite. In 1913, the London season was in full swing. Debutantes were being presented at court. Grand balls were held every night in Mayfair. The shops you see here catered to a lifestyle of unimaginable leisure. You could buy cigars imported from Havana, silks from the Orient, and diamonds from South Africa. Inside these exclusive clubs, the men who ran the empire sat in leather chairs, drinking scotch and reading the Times. They discussed the Irish question or the suffragettes smashing windows on Oxford Street. To them, these were manageable nuisances. The idea that the German Empire,
ruled by the king's own cousin, Kaiser Wilhelm, would burn this world to the ground within a year seemed like madness. Let's walk west into Hyde Park. It looks idyllic. Nannies in starched white uniforms push prams containing the generation that will fight the Second World War. But listen closely to the sounds of the park. On Sundays, at Speaker's Corner, you would hear the voices of dissent. Socialists, anarchists, and suffragettes standing on soapboxes, screaming that this wealth was built on the backs of the poor. London in 1913 was a city of extremes. While the West End dined on champagne and oysters, a different world existed just a few miles to the east. A world where the life expectancy was half that of a Mayfair banker. We are about to leave the sunlight of the West End. We are going to take a journey into the fog, to the places the guidebooks didn't show you. If you left the grand palaces of the West End and followed the smoke east, you entered a different world. This is Whitechapel. This is Bethnal Green. Here the streets were not paved with gold, they were paved with mud, refuse, and the struggle for survival.
While the West End smelled of expensive tobacco and perfume, this air smelled of coal dust, boiled cabbage, and unwashed bodies. London in 1913 was the largest manufacturing city in Europe. The furniture, the clothes, the matches, and the processed food that fueled the empire were made here, in these cramped workshops. The people here didn't care about the intricacies of Balkan politics. They cared about the price of bread, and in 1913 that price was rising. This was the Great Unrest. There were strikes on the docks, strikes on the railways. The machinery of the empire was creaking. The people sensed that the old way of doing things, the rigid class system, the absolute authority of the elite was breaking down. But the threat that would actually destroy their world didn't come from the factories. It came from a street corner in Bosnia. June 28, 1914. In London, it was a sunny Sunday. Families were heading to the seaside. The cricket season was in full swing. When the news broke that an archduke had been shot, most Londoners didn't check their maps. It was a tragedy, yes, but a distant one. Throughout July, the crisis deepened, but in the tea rooms of the Ritz and the pubs of the East End, the music kept playing. The 5 pillars we discussed earlier, hubris and blindness, were holding strong. The belief was absolute. Civilization is too interconnected for war. They were sleepwalking, and they were about to walk off a cliff. August 3rd, 1914, the bank holiday Monday. The mood in the streets shifted from indifference to a strange electric excitement. Crowds gathered at Buckingham Palace. They sang "God Save the King." They cheered. They thought it would be an adventure. They thought it would be over by Christmas. But inside the halls of power, the mood was funereal. Sir Edward Grey, the Foreign Secretary, stood by a window watching the lamps being lit along the Mall. He turned to a friend and spoke the words that would define the century. The lamps are going out all over Europe. We shall not see them lit again in our lifetime. At 11 p.m. on August 4th, the ultimatum to Germany expired. The golden age was over. The 20th century had truly begun. If you walk through London today, you can still see the ghosts of 1913. You can see them in the Portland stone of Regent Street, built to last 1,000 years. You can see them in the war memorials that stand in almost every village and borough, lists of names of the boys who laughed in the sun that final summer. To understand London in 1913 is to understand the fragility of our own time.
They had global trade, they had rapid technological progress, they had relative peace, and they lost it all in the span of a single month. The story of 1913 is not just a history lesson, it is a warning. It reminds us that stability is not a guarantee, it is a fragile thing that must be protected. We look back at them not with judgment, but with empathy, because in their confidence and in their blindness, we see a reflection of ourselves. Watching the past so we can understand the present. I'll see you in the next era.